Hello, story time. Okay, I know I was rubbish last week. It turned to be a very busy, hectic week. I'm sorry, I will try harder again this week. Okay, so for those of us that need a recap, Chaya was breaking into the prison to get Neil out. Okay, she had set off a explosion in the kitchen, so the majority of guards had gone there, but she went to get the keys off this big man who kind of had to have a fight with Jans, he was called. And we finished chapter 13 with Jan's nostrils flared as he brought his face, purple with rage, closer to Chaya. So we're not quite sure if she's going to be able to escape or not. Okay. Chapter 14. Jan slammed Chaya against the wall, a sharp pain slicing through her head as it hit the stone. His hands closed around his neck. Hey! Away! Chaya's words were cut off as his hands tightened around her throat. She kicked and clawed at the man, but his grip only increased. She had to do something or she was going to be no use to Neil. Basically, she was going to die. The world edged into black. Then Chaya slammed onto the ground, where she was roughly shaken. A dark face swam into view. What was happening? Had Jans changed his mind? Chaya blinked and someone yanked her to her feet. Chaya, focus. We need to get out of here. It wasn't Jans. Neil? Neil's blurry face hovered in front of her. Chaya swallowed down nausea as the view slowly solidified. Jans lay on the floor, blocking the whole passage. Don't worry, said Neil. He's coming to already. Chaya shook her groggy head. Neil, how on earth? The tools you brought me, Chaya. I was sawing all last night. Managed to get out just in time. Chaya whooped. Things were on track. The bunch of keys were on the floor and she kicked them under the bars to the toothless man in the first cell. There you go, a gift from us. Let's go, Neil. They darted out into the hall and started up the steps. And that was when they saw them, everyone. And it did look like every single one of the guards had returned and they were all staring at Chaya and Neil with undisguised anger. Somehow they've got all the prison guards to conquer. Chaya felt pressed in on all sides as the guards surrounded her and Neil. She was swept up in the throng and half dragged, half carried up the stairs and out of the underground prison. On the edge of her vision, Neil was being borne away too. She blinked in the sudden daylight. Where are you taking us? Straight to General Sari. Let's see you try and get out of this, said the man. You and your friend can both lose your heads. On the promenade, more guards joined the dozens already surrounding the children, pushing them towards the palace. There was a shout from somewhere above, and Chaya felt a shock ripple through the swarm of guards. Hey! Came a familiar voice. A figure stood up on the steps leading to the inner palace, silhouetted against the giant lion statue. A figure in a floaty red dress. Hey, fools! Look behind you, yelled Noir. The throng turned around and the guards went crazy. There were shouts of dismay as they shot off back the way they'd come. Chaya stood on tiptoe to try and see over the people. What was going on? All the prisoners had escaped and were currently making their way to freedom, okay, because they slid them the keys, remember. The toothless man from the first cell was at the front, running away merrily. Chaya slipped out of the guard's grasp while he was distracted. He tried to grab her by the plait, but she twisted away from him and ran. Someone struck out his foot and sent her flying till she landed with a thwack on the gravel ground, hands outstretched. Another guard brought his foot down over her hand, but she whipped it away just in time and bounced up, sprinting between two of the men coming her way. She could see Neil up ahead, also free and running. He slowed down to let her catch up. No! Go, Neil! Shouted Chaya. Meet you at the jumbo tree. Neil sped off. A young guard pulled at her, but she kicked him away. Two of the king's men were heading for her. Chaya changed direction, zigzagging through the formal gardens. One of them was gaining on her. He ran up and caught the edge of her skirt. She plucked it away and turned a corner. A small flight of steps led downwards. Chaya missed her footing and slipped and went crashing down the steps. She landed in a heap at the bottom. Pain shot through her ankles and she screamed. She bit down on her fist and crawled into the bush of coral flames. She's here somewhere. She's got to be. There was a sound of thrashing leaves as the men searched through the foliage. Chaya inched her way through the shrubbery. She circled her ankle with her hand, and the warmth soothed the pain a little. She couldn't put her weight on it. She'd have to just crawl. How on earth would she get to Neil at the jumbo tree? There was a shout of triumph. Look, she's dropped something. A box of matches. It was her then. Wait till I get her to General Sari. Chaya dragged herself towards the walled garden. It was at the back of the palace complex and removed from all the action, so quiet and still. She had to bite painfully on her lip to keep herself from crying out every time she moved. It was finished. She was finished. Even if, by some miracle, she got out of the royal palace safely, she couldn't possibly get to the jumbo tree where Neil was waiting. But at least he wasn't in immediate danger anymore, and father would be safe too. Even if she was caught, nothing would be tracked back to him. Father had not vested interest into releasing Neil. Even if he'd lost his job, at least he wouldn't lose his life. Dizziness threatened to overcome her. Chaya squeezed her eyes shut and tried to block out the pain. They would find her. It was over. No. Her eyes flew open. It was not quieter. Chaya hauled herself into the walled garden. The green was quiet, with no one in sight. The servants must have left their positions and gone to the front of the complex, drawn by all the chaos. Chaya stood up and ran. A searing pain shot up through her leg all the way. It was useless. She was in far too much pain. This was it. They'd find her eventually. And then in the distance, through a blur of pain, Chaya saw her getaway vehicle. She hobbled up and untied the chains from the post. Black spots swam in front of her eyes, and she scrambled up and felt the calming, gentle sway take her off to find Neil. Chapter 15. What took you so long? Said Neil as she stumbled over him to the jumbo tree. The pain was slightly better now. She couldn't put her weight on her foot, but at least she wasn't dizzy with pain. Are you okay? Neil looked worried. Why are you limping? You look ill. Just tired, said Chaya, and I hurt my foot. It's not easy, the whole prison break thing. She sank down at the foot of the tree. We need to leave now. The king must be furious. Can you walk? Neil bent down and stared at her foot. I'm trying to work out where to go. Chaya stood up, holding on to the tree. I know where we shouldn't go. The king's men will search the road out to the village. We need to do something exactly opposite to what they expect. We should go deep into the jungle. Are you mad? Said Neil. We're just going to get lost. We have no other choice. Chaya took a step forward and winced. It'll buy some time till we figure out what to do. You can't go anywhere by the looks of it, said Neil. Chaya, you've done enough. I'll take it from here. Neil, they saw me. Again. It's too late for that now. Neil rubbed his head. What a mess. You can't even walk. How did you get here? I had some help. Anyway, I do have a way we can get into the jungle. Sprained ankle and all. Come with me. So we're not quite sure how she gets into the jungle. But potentially, we're not sure because it did say a sway. And it just kind of went and it was gentle and calm. I don't know. We'll see. Chaya led the way, keeping well into the wilderness. She let her foot drag along, careful not to put any weight on it. Neil didn't say much. He looked worried and tired. After all the excitement of being rescued, it was funny that all they felt now was tired and subdued. Why couldn't you bring the cart with you? Asked Neil. It's not a cart. Come on, just here, through the trees. There was a scuffling behind them and Neil stared. He clutched Chaya and began to drag her with him. Come on, come on. Another stab of pain went through her leg as Chaya tried to hurry. Hey, what are you two doing? Her voice came from behind. Wait for me. Chaya wheeled around, yelping with pain as the weight fell on her injured ankle. Noir was lumbering towards them, laden with 2 small snacks. I've got supplies, she said, puffing and panting. She dropped the 2 bags on the ground near them, one of them falling with a metallic thud. Are you out of your mind? Said Chaya. What are you doing here? Noir stopped and screwed her face. You're welcome. Some gratitude wouldn't go amiss, you know. Miss Noir, Neil looked horrified. What are you doing here? How did you even know where we were? I followed you, of course, then quickly nipped back for supplies from home. I guess your friend here," she turned to Jaya, "hasn't told you that I helped rescue you, Neelam." "Helped? I just asked you to come with me to the temple, and thank you very much for that, but that's it. Now go home and get on with your life." A bang sounded in the distance, and they could hear galloping coming from the city. "We need to go," said Jaya. "Come on, Nil." She ran towards the jungle with Nil, trying not to scream with the pain. Noir followed them with the bags. "Come on, it's just here." She found a place and stopped in the clearing. And there it was, her rather unusual getaway vehicle. Jaya turned to her in shock. "Oh my gosh, Jaya, what on earth have you done?" "I didn't have much choice, you know. I was in pain and blacking out, and I had to get out of there without the use of my foot," Noir shrieked. What kind of kleptomaniac are you?" Kleptomaniac's a sort of thief. "Shut up. I just said I had to steal him to get away." "Get on, Neil. We have to go now. But her friend was staring in horror at the gentle bulk of Ananda, the king's own elephant. So it was the elephant that she got away on. But we're going to stop there. So they've just found the elephant. They're not. The other two children aren't convinced to get on, but they don't have much choice. But remember, it's the king's elephant that they've stolen. So they've stolen the queen's jewels, and that's why they all were potentially going to die anyway. And now to help them get out of that situation, they've stolen the king's elephant. So we will see what happens tomorrow.